Hey, uh, turn that sound off there. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another Whitecloaks live stream here. And I'm here. This is first of all shooting a little from the hip here. I think we just kind of collectively had a good idea. We wanted to chat with you guys, depending on if there's anyone actually on tonight, and talk through a recent announcement on casting. Not super recent, Alex. What, it was a couple days ago ish. What is that timeline correct?
Yeah, it's been sort of semi-official since December, but it was only just confirmed in late July.
Okay. So anyway, had a casting announcement, and we got a wonderful guest on with us today. So obviously, as always, I'm Pips. Alex also here from the White Cloaks, and then our guest, Miss Balefire, who I'll throw her over here on the big screen here. She can
Oh, thank
introduce
you.
herself to everyone. Well, we got to lead. You got to lead with your best assets. So Miss Balefire, we'll put you
Thank
over on the good side, and you can tell the two watchers we have right now, and whoever shows up again. What's your connection with the Wheel of Time?
Okay, well, I'd say I'm a pretty new fantasy reader. Like I never was really into fantasy, and then I read Game of Thrones, and that really got me into it. And that's probably one of my favorite theory series. I've read it like 5 times through, and I was watching a Nerdrotic video, and it was one that he did about George never finishing the novels, and people were listing books like book recommendations, and somebody recommended The Wheel of Time, so I went down to the library, found it, Eye of the World. I binge read the series. Like I read all of the books in like 2 weeks. It was insane. I was just, I really enjoyed them. I thought they were really well written. I like seeing like just a different version of fantasy. It was like different than what I thought it was, since I was more of a science fiction kind of a fan at first. But I really enjoyed it. I loved the writing. The story was really good. I thought like the books were very well put together, and then from there, I remembered like seeing the Amazon ad for it, and I was like, okay, this is going to be really bad. And then I saw the preview, and I'm like,
Oh, based.
oh,
You just see
why?
Amazon logo and you just knew, huh?
Yeah, I just know. I guess I should give you like a back. My background is I'm an English major and a writer, and I've also gone to film school. I was studying directing at the time. I do screenwriting and development. So when I watched the series, yeah, like there was just so many horrible things in it that just really reminded me why I didn't want to work in the industry. It was just seeing something that had such a big budget and seeing just so many like basic elementary mistakes. It was just disheartening, because somebody like me, where I'm working on like indie budget productions that like have no budget basically, and we're just just really working our butts off to get our films made, and then we see something with an $80 million budget and they don't even understand basic film editing concepts. It's just depressing.
So, would you say that you are a critical review or a critical viewer, both emotionally in your response and also
Yeah,
in how you consume it?
yeah. Well, I try to like just enjoy watching film and stuff as much as I can, but some things are just like, okay, this really sticks out to me. Like some of the production value stuff I saw on the show, like that's just really bad. Like just technical issues.
For sure.
Um, yeah, like bad panning, like jerky panning, like using color grading to fix lighting mistakes. Like some of the audio was really off. Like I'm an audio engineer too, so like I was just very critical of it, and the directing, and of course the writing. The writing was just like, where are we? What is story? Like what's plot? Like who knows?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. So the two of you guys obviously talked, and you kind of decided together that you guys wanted to have a conversation about this casting announcement. What made you guys decide? Hey, let's do something together about this. First of all, I guess. First of all, how you got connected with us? You are on the Discord with us, so that's
Yeah,
where we first met you, and you've been awesome there, by the way.
thank you. I really like
Like
going and talking to you guys. It's awesome. It's
like
really
you
nice to
said,
meet you.
newer experience in relationship with the books, and you have come out of the gate. We'll say slinging some balefire. You are
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
man
it's my
at
favorite.
it.
No, I'm definitely like on team like Matt, Rand, and Logain. I don't know why Logain. He just nice guy.
He's fun.
He is nice. He deserved a better redemption arc though, but
for Logain.
Yeah, he needed like to fill it out a little bit more. Like it's like you go through getting all of this like Min's vision. He's gonna do something amazing, and then you see him like a couple of times, and then at the end, like Sawate Omines. Roman's in the chat.
There you go. Gadfly. Thanks for coming out.
And yeah, I just thought they'd do like I don't know. I just wanted to read more about him. I wanted a lot more of the Black Tower. I'm a huge Black Tower fan, so
I think Alex, what do you think? That's an old fan complaint too.
Yeah, that's the complaints about, you know, sort of the Sanderson takeover was that, you know, his Androl was his character. And Androl was gonna do the stuff no matter what happened. And Androl stole from, Logain was clearly the most. So yeah, no, you're 100% with the rest of the fandom on that. That was an old complaint and one that is almost, I feel, universal.
Yeah, I mean, Androl is a cool character, and I think most people like the idea of like really interesting and sort of like novel ways to use magic. I mean, that's one of the reasons Sanderson is so well liked, is that he comes up with creative ways to use the magic instead of just like inventing, pulling a new rabbit out of the hat every time. He takes the stuff that's been introduced before, uses it creatively. Yeah. A lot of people really like that, and so using that in the Wheel of Time was not bad. We'd seen gateways used as death gates. We'd seen a lot of those ideas before. So
yeah, that's funny. I never got the connection. Oh, like there's a death gate, and that was the same of like same thing as using just a regular traveling gate, because they use different language to describe it. But that is a good point. And I feel really bad because I did like Androl a lot. And I think the reason why I liked him was because of what he did with, I think her name was Pavera. Is the red that he bonded. I don't remember who, but they ended up bonding each other, and I thought that was so interesting because what happens when two people bond. And I like the idea because it took like a guy from the Black Tower and a red of all people coming together and realizing, hey, we can do some really cool things together. And it was like, if I had to give one criticism of Wheel of Time, it's that none of these organizations ever have that moment of like apotheosis when they're like, hey, the way we've been doing things is really kind of messed up. It's not helping us. It's not furthering our cause. Maybe we should have a little introspection and maybe see if there's a problem we can solve with our ideologies or something. And I never got that in Wheel of Time, and I'm just I was really sad.
Well, yeah, I think Aldan agreed.
Yeah, I like Androl. I mean, I thought he was cool, but like at the same time, and everyone told me this, like, oh, it's the like way underpowered character saving the day. I agree. That's valid criticism.
No, he was a Sanderson character, and you know what? If the worst complaint we have about Sanderson, caveat maybe Matt in his first book.
I don't know. I really didn't like how Sanderson handled Avienda. I think he really didn't understand her character because it felt like the stuff he was writing in her thoughts was really like, because she'd spent all that time with Elaine. So I thought, like, wouldn't she know about Wetlander culture and stuff? But some of the stuff she thinks about just seems like it's very like it's gone back in time. That was my one characterization that I really didn't like.
I mean, the Aiel like never understood the Wetlanders, like so that part of it, like that never really got me that much. But I think it is 100% true, and you see it in lots of the different characterizations and in lots of just the writing generally, that Sanderson was a fan who wrote the books. So like, it wasn't fan fiction because it was officially endorsed and the link going on there. But I just remember seeing there was one of those like word plots where like, the words are larger the more often they're used and stuff like that. And a look at the first 12 books versus the last couple, or I guess the first. Yeah. Anyway, I looked at Brandon Sanderson's versus Robert Jordan's writing, and there were some very interesting ones that stood out. One of the ones was the word channeler, which Robert Jordan used like 0, 1, or 2 times, like almost never used the term channeler, channeling, but never a
Mhm.
channeler. And channeler was like, that's a fan word, right? Like we in like the
Yeah.
fan online communities use the word channeler, and Robert and Brandon Sanderson used the word channeler a ton, right?
Yeah.
To be fair, he was writing the last battle, so you had lots of channelers, right?
Yeah,
But
Henry.
but Robert Jordan always said Aes Sedai and Ashaman and Damane. He always
Yeah,
used
'cause
the
there's so many
specific
different
words.
groups that could channel, so just saying channeler is kinda like, okay. That's
So
interesting.
just there's beyond just the characterization, there's other things there. But yeah, like Alex said, those are
I'm
those
just
are
glad
minor
we got the end.
complaints.
Yeah, I mean, we got an ending. I mean, I'm not, like, the hugest fan of, Sanderson. I tried reading some of his other books, and I don't know, he's just not my favorite author, but it's okay. I appreciate that he did it, and he did a great thing. I mean, those are huge 3 huge books, and that's
Yeah,
amazing that we got that.
yeah.
Yep.
Jonathan R. Hey, good to see you again. Thanks for coming out. And everybody else in the chat, we got a whole 4 people.
That's awesome. Thanks for
us
coming out
us on
with
the
us.
panel are half of the people on.
Well, it's the contributions that matter, not the number.
There you go. How do you guys want to kick this off? Do you want me to just you sent the stuff over to me and I can just kind of screen share and you guys can talk us through it?
Sure.
Sure.
Sweet. Okay. Give me 1 second here. And
I brought my Nynaeve braid in case I have to do some, like, excessive, like, hair tugging.
oh
Hope
man.
not, because this is a pretty
Didn't
good
I?
story.
Yeah, we like this one, which is I'm not used to saying that about Wheel of Time.
I know, it's
I don't
something
think I said
good.
it yet, even.
I mean, for all the bad things in the show, there were things that I liked. Like, I think there were some genuinely decent actors in there. Like the 2 kid actors, like Aram actor was good. Like his grandma, whatever her name was good. And like Matt was okay. Like, but here we go. Here's your.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry that took me so long.
Yeah, you're good, man. It's, so as we were kind of discussing in the beginning, it is official, or at least as official as we're going to get without an Amazon press release. Shreya Agdashlu is our Chad Swanee, and I think for once we're pretty happy with this one. This seems to be a knockout. This has been rumored since December. She's had strong connections with Amazon Prime for a while now. Her standout role was Ava Sarala from The Expanse, and she was phenomenal in that role. And that role kind of almost is a mirror of the Kid Swanee character that we're getting now. So,
Yeah, she
just
was good in that show.
yeah, seems like a very natural fit. Seems like the actress is a great choice. If you move to the next one, Pips, she even looks the part pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's hard to say, "Oh, they did something right." Wow. My problem is like they could have this great actress playing her, and it's like, how are they going to write her? Because you already have this problem in the show where they take, like, you've got the Aes Sedai, and they're just caricatures in the show. So you're taking people that are like kind of power hungry, anyways, and then they're trying to throw the feminist agenda into it, and then it just makes them looking even worse than they already do in the story. And Cadsuane is not like the nicest person in the world. She does a lot of really messed up things to Rand, even though she's supposed to be saving him. So I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of what the chat is bringing up? That great casting, but why are we hearing about this now? We're still learning some of the casting for season 2, right? So the casting announcement for this character, do you think she's going to be in season 2?
Yeah, I agree with Jonathan. Like, why are they introducing her now?
So if you read the tweet, she actually says she sure was an interesting character to portray, as in she's already done so.
She's already filmed?
Yeah. At least that's
Hmm.
what I read from that tweet. So, and I think the chat and everybody else is having the exact same, conversation. Why is this happening now? And it's really, really sort of a giant red flag that, you know, Judkins has been sort of extremely self indulgent in the way that he's handled this project as far as pushing his own favorites to the front. So jumping this character, which I think we all assume is one of his favorites, all the way here is, very concerning.
Yeah, I've like now that I've watched the whole series, I'm just like really like trying to figure out where would they even put her, where are they going to fit her in. I kind of get the feeling that they'll probably throw her into White Tower politics thing with the women because like she's in the books, she's not involved with that at all. I mean, she goes like she does her own thing. She's
Yeah,
out in
she's
the
been
world.
gone so long that people think
Yeah,
she's dead, right?
yeah. And then she
Well,
just comes back.
she
But
helped capture Logain.
oh yes,
So they know she's not dead, but she's retired enough that nobody really factors her in anymore. At least is
So
my understanding.
I want to say, like, even as early as New Spring here, everyone had believed Katsuane Meladrin was dead somewhere in retirement until she reappeared at the start of the Aiel War. So I feel like every time she shows up and then she's gone for a couple years, and people are like, "Oh, she's definitely dead now. She's like 300 and something years old, like dead," and then she pops back up again. So yeah, I think that her having helped capture Logain or anybody else, I still recall them being surprised when she shows up, but I
Yeah,
could be remembering that line from New Spring. It's
they,
possible.
they don't expect her to show up because she just sort of
Yeah,
rolls in and does her thing.
yeah.
But
Here you go. Uh, Vic Rattlehead. Thanks for coming out. And yeah, I think Cad Swan, Cad Swain is definitely going to be a power player in the show that we get here. But Jonathan, I think had a good point. Like we're still trying to get the men in there, right? So
I
we'll see
know
how
we
it
don't
goes.
even know, and like what are I still can't get over what they did to Matt. I mean, like if you're going to have a character and you're going to put him on a redemption arc or something, I understand, but like you have to start with them doing something that makes you like the character, and they've done absolutely no, they've given us no reason at all whatsoever to care about Matt. So if they're going to put him on a redemption arc, like why should we care? I mean, the way he's going now, he's going to be like Shaitan or something. I don't know.
He's
I mean,
he's just going to be a second Padden Fane. they're,
yeah, I mean,
they're going to do
honestly,
a team up.
there is
yep,
something in me that says like, if they're that incompetent at writing, that maybe they are making him the villain because like you have Moraine saying in the show that the evil is inside Matt, it's not the dagger, and that like they show him last thing he's walking out of like what's it called, Shatter Logoth. He's
Yeah,
walking out there, and then and it's like he's evil or something. There's something about him as a person that's bad, which is
yeah. Especially when you think, like
don't
you
hurt.
said. So you said that they have to show you the character as somebody good first, right? And instead, we see him as a thief, right? And then we see him like then he goes bad, but you're like, well, I mean, he was a thief, and then he was argumentative, and he was sort of lazy, and like all of these things just builded, and so he was just bad throughout. And they're like, oh yeah, the darkness inside him, all that stuff, and it's just yeah, I don't know how they redeem his character.
I don't think you can. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, there's this screenwriting book everyone talks about called Save the Cat, and the whole Save the Cat thing is like it's when you get your character doing something good that brings the other people on board with we're rooting for this character, and he hasn't done that. I mean, when I go, I'm going to do an episode rewatch with you guys, and I wanted to tell you things that my brother saw in the show that made him think he doesn't know anything about this. He actually thinks that Logain is the real dragon, and he is a real hero of the show because he's the only person that's actually done anything good for other people and stood up for other people. And it's hard to disagree with that.
That is an interesting take. So Gadfly Fiction brought up the Sing for Your Supper or kind of Play for Your Supper arc of them on the road, and the fact that even in that Matt was shown to be paranoid and have, a lot of stuff kind of going on, but was still never not caring for Rand, never not kind of
Exactly.
looking out for the two of them. And we never saw that like conflict, right? We just saw it was just all evil all the time. It was reduced to such black and white levels and oversimplified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, yeah.
Well, I mean, I know Matt is the greatest character of all time, but we were
Yeah.
talking about this person, I think.
Yes, Catswain. Is that how you say your name? I honestly read through the book so fast when the like little pronunciation guides are in the back. I realized for like half of everything I was saying Aiel wrong, and I was saying it like ale.
I don't think I have ever actually referred to the little glossary on pronunciation.
I like that there's a pronunciation go.
Oh, Pips. Oh, see, I was calling her Cad Swan, and then I heard you call her Cad Swanee, and I assumed you were right and I was wrong.
No, I honestly, I say the names differently. Like half the time I say them, I'm. It's like Steve, like Prophet of the Dragon does the same thing. So
yeah, it's interesting because it's like how they
Cad
did.
Swan or Cad Swain, one of those two, I think is correct. Cad Swanee, sometimes it just rolls out and and then I try and grab it back.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. I think
Yeah.
I'm keeping Cad Swanee, to be honest. I like it.
Hey, well, I'll just pick a different way of saying it.
Yeah.
Cad Swain, okay.
I think Manaman is telling us the right thing, Cad Swain, which, like I said, I think is the correct one as well. And
Probably.
I say the people's names so many different ways. Honestly, it depends on my level of sobriety.
It took me a while to figure out Shawan because I knew somebody whose name's Shawan, but they spell it like Gaelic spelling, and then that set it off in my head. Oh, he's just phonetically spelling a lot of Gaelic names. So I was like,
oh,
yeah, because Shawan is like Sibbhon or something like that. I don't know.
So this is yeah. I've always said Swan. There's a few of the characters that I do this with. Cad Swain is one of them. Galad / sort of Galad. I say both of those two. Brigida. That one I feel like I alternate between, much to Trip gets on me every time.
I know.
So this is from the New Spring graphic novel. This one you didn't send me. I just pulled this up. So what do you guys think? I mean, we saw the picture of kind of her casting announcement and the picture of her. I actually think this is one of the ones that maybe is probably the best straight up casting, in addition to what you guys were saying in terms of her like acting chops, which like, hey, The Expanse was a great show and she crushed it in that. It's the only thing I've seen her in, but like,
yeah, she was really good in that. That was a good show.
She's way too good for this production.
Yeah.
Honestly, I remember when this got tweeted and somebody was like, "Oh, we need to put this person in charge and or in this role," and she kind of responded like, "I don't really know what this is, but like, like send me a message or something like that," right? And I thought the same thing, that like there's no way her agent agrees to let her do this project.
I don't know if the money is good enough. A lot of people, I don't know.
So I'll maintain that I think that conversation was astroturfed. I think that was set up long before, just because I don't think the timelines worked out. But I'll give it to him. I don't care how you get there, so long as you get the right answer.
Oh God, man,
yeah.
I hope of all the casting rumors, I hope that Galad rumor isn't true. I mean, I feel like it is.
Oh, it's so true. You heard it from the Whitecloaks. We've
never
been wrong before.
At least I'll say for that, at least this person, whatever she wants to call herself, I'm just calling her a woman because like when I looked up her name, I'm not even gonna mention what I saw, the pictures of this person. I was like, wow. Interesting modeling choices there, but yeah, I'm like, you could cross play as Galad. Like if you wanted to go to Comic-Con and you're asking me, can I pass as Galad? And I'm like, yeah, I guess if you want to be female Galad, but It's Wheel of Prime, so
It is. I think actually Dane posted a picture of her when it first came out of one of her modeling pictures that she was like, this is something she was wearing in public, and
yeah, and it's like
it got taken off the Discord
up.
for.
Yeah, I was like gonna link it, and I'm like, that kid I don't want to get the Discord ban. And then she had like it was a see-through shirt, and then she had this long black skirt that had no back, and you could just see her butt. So
Well, here we'll pull up Aldan here before I go back to Jonathan. Aldan saying, "Yep, I saw the same ones," and
yeah,
he
it's a
thinks
girl, not gonna lie.
he thinks based on the picture you can positively identify. Aldan, we do have to ask you for legal reasons. Are you a biologist? You can tell us in the chat. Jonathan R. bringing up the question here. What do you guys think? So, Cadsuane is kind of the archetype of Aes Sedai arrogance, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And no, they're not going to downplay it.
No.
You said they're not going to downplay it?
No, absolutely not.
So you think that should be every bit the Aes Sedai arrogance?
The Moraine Cadsuane collision. I don't think.
I love that you're saying that now.
I don't think the show is going to be able to survive it. I do not think Judkins is going to be able to pick a favorite.
Yeah.
Aldan coming in to say he is in fact a biologist, so we can take that one to the bank, ladies and gentlemen, and theys that may be in the chat. We're an inclusive organization here. You can put in the comments if we've misgendered anyone. Balefire's brother's theory would be a decent. I'll take it a wheel of time. Honestly, okay. What are you guys' thoughts? Had they just given us a straight up like set in the world of, but like
Flicker.
one of the like said from the very beginning that this is like a alternate mirror world from the Portal Stones, and like it's just going to be completely different. If they had just said, yeah, Loghain's the dragon, and like if they had completely hard right turned on the material, how do you guys think you would have taken that?
I could buy it.
I would
like
watch
Loghain, that's why.
I would watch a 3-season trilogy of this Loghain running roughshod over the Aes Sedai Tower any day. Give me that right now.
Yes, please.
I think Max
train Rand. Maybe he could train Rand to be like more of a man and teach him manly things, like Lan was supposed to. I don't know.
That would be incredible.
I think Max is on board with it as well.
Yeah, Max, I'm with you, Max.
Aldan also. I totally okay. So I think that they had a couple ways to go with this show, given what they wanted to do. One of them is like just make this. Like just make this show as season 1, right? Like if they really wanted to do the Aes Sedai politics, if they wanted to have Cadsuane, if they wanted to have Moraine and Swan and all that stuff, right? Why not just do a new spring? That would have they could have packed in all of the world building that they wanted, and just told the story they wanted to. I don't know. I think that's similar to the alternate telling, right?
Yeah, Jonathan. No, you and I are 100% in agreement. Yeah, no, the Aes Sedai are going to be the heroes. They will be right on everything. Everything's going to just be massacred. No, you're 100% correct. What I'm curious about is how they're going to handle an Aes Sedai versus Aes Sedai conflict in which there isn't one obvious villain. They can sort of throw Leandrin under the bus. They're not going to be able to do that, I think, with Cadsuane and Moraine. That's going to be what hurts them.
Here's a thought for you. Like, since they're kind of like Leandrin's kind of not like doing what she does in the books, and she's just kind of like a really surface level tension. She's not like scheming or anything. I'm thinking that maybe they make Cadsuane the sort of outsider that comes back to the White Tower, and then she's the one like leading the kind of I don't know, the like opposite faction of the White Tower. I mean, that's all I can think of. Why would they be introducing her in season 2? If maybe they're like kind of trying to make like a compilation character. Like I could kind of see them doing that because there's so many characters, and you could maybe make her like a bunch of or add different things. I mean, I can't figure out why now. I mean,
I feel like the only way that they could do that would be combining her with Elida.
Yep.
yeah.
And oh man, I
That's
would
just
be
so bad, though.
I would be steamed.
Yeah, I know. It's just so bad because it's like Cat Swain really comes back because she knows she has to help guide Rand, even though how she how she decides to do it is just really beyond me, or why she uses the reason she does. I mean, come on, it's like carrot and stick, and she just goes straight for the stick. She's rude.
Okay, Jonathan, I think honestly,
That could work.
this horrifies me as a thought.
It does.
The only thing, so he says that we've yet to see Varen, but I thought we had Varen confirmed as being cast.
Yeah, I thought we had
don't think we know
casting announcement.
I don't think that we know specifically one. I think it's we got like a list of people, and we're like, and then these are cast as Varen, like a list of people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was pretty cleanly like, hey, there's only one of these that's a little bit older than the others, so like this is probably Varen, and then these are probably Elaine or a couple others. But man, if they manage to shoehorn Varen and Cadswain, man.
I mean,
that would be
like, if you took out all the Varen or the Cadswain backstory of whatever being independent and working away from it, and kind of put her in an archivist position, I guess that would work. But like the thing with Varen is Varen's so great, and she just
I know. I was just gonna say that. It's like
just awesome. I mean, I'm sure is everyone reading this, so can we just say it? Like no spoilers, or does it matter?
Shoot your shot. This is a pure
the Whitecloaks is
no, we're book cloaks. We've read the books. Like, but God, when you find out she's like, yeah, and she comes to Egwene and she's like, yeah, I was a like Black Aja the whole time, and like, yeah, I was just collecting information, and here's all this like all this research, and here's all the like Forsaken that are in here, and all this stuff. Like, yeah.
Amanda Manethrin, Nate in the chat pointing out that would make Cadswain Shadow Aja. Oh man, the Shadow Aja name is going to be. I think that's one of the better rumors. I think that's going to be good. And then Sven pointing out that like whatever we think might happen, it will be worse.
I swear, I think of this show as really, it's like a great representation of the taint on Saidin, because like we can all sit here and we'll like channel it all day, and we have so much fun talking to each other, and it feels so good. But like when we're done and then we go look at the books and we're just like, God, I kind of have a migraine now. I feel like I'm gonna throw up, and that was really, really dirty and awful.
You're just sitting there, forever unclean.
Yeah, because it's just such an abomination.
Oh man. So everyone in the chat, first of all here. So Ahmad, let's see, sort of established that there's no way doing book Elida, since I said I cannot purposely be this misguided. It's going to be hard for them to shoehorn Elida in, especially we never got introduced to her early, which she like that was important to kind of setting up her character.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, what I wanted to throw in was all of you in the chat. You're getting a good look at why we love Miss Balefire in the Discord.
Thank you.
She just no holds barred, just slinging.
But you know what? If you had to like combine characters, which totally makes sense. Like I could see as like a person that's taken like TV writing and development classes, I could see combining like the first 2 books into like one season. But like Cadswain and Varen, like it wouldn't really work. I could see the show doing it, but if I had to mix characters, I'd probably go with like Leandrin and Elida. Like they seem to be. That would be like take it because they play the same role. I mean, you have to look at what each person does in the story. So like if you were gonna take like combine Cadswain, you'd probably want to combine her with some of the people that are after like Dumais Wells when Rand gets them all and they all decide they want to swear fealty to him. Like you probably want to include it in there. But
that's smart. I feel like there was a really good author who wrote that. Wasn't there a really talented Just a question, just throwing it out there.
No, that's never existed. Talented authors have never existed. The wheel of time
Like,
sprung out of Rafe Judkins' mind, fully formed like Athena from the axe blow to Zeus's head. Uh, Coincidentally, axes barely appearing in this show. Perrin has a sword.
I
Just
know,
whatever.
that's just so wrong, like, on a symbolic level. I mean, there's so much you could do with that, and it's like, I get my book out here, and I'm looking at it because I thought about, like, I got this great Rand-esque idea at, like, 2 in the morning where I'm like, "I'm gonna remove the taint from Wheel of Prime and just write my own script." And so I ordered the book, and I'm looking through it, and I'm like, "This is a really good book to adapt because it's not like a novel that
It's
relies on a
so
lot of
there.
monologue." I mean, it's here. It's like the action is really precise. It's like it's really easy to see like what roles characters play. Like I've
Yes.
read some other books where it isn't so easy because there's a lot of inner monologue and it's like it's important to the story you're reading, but that can't translate on the screen.
So Gadfly, I think, is 100% on board. You saying Leandrin and Elida combined together makes me literally want to claw myself. Um,
Yeah, I'll go.
but Leandrin,
Andrew and Alviren. Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah,
That's what I meant. Like I get
those
lost.
two.
I need another reread. I'm gonna have to do
There you
it.
go. You got to do
My
it.
lack of knowledge is driving me crazy.
But yeah, the other thing I always said that Leandrin could really have been thrown out of the show. You could have
Yeah.
just the 13 Black Sisters was mostly a plot device to give the girls something to do to get them out of the tower and kind of on their own to start developing them as characters and build them into what they needed to be later, right?
Yeah.
And the show is already deciding to just spring forward, fully formed and developed. So you could get rid of
And
those
the cool
arcs.
thing about like them chasing the Black Aja, like Elaine and them, and it really mirrors what Schwan and Moiraine do in New
Yeah.
Spring because that's what they've basically been doing. So it's nice. It's nice to see like a writer go and do that and kind of give you like an alternate what characters might have been. Like George R. R. Martin does that in a few times with some of his stuff in Essos, like with like Pretty Maris and Brienne and stuff. Sort of this alternative take on what this character could have been. And I think that's like would have been cool, but Wheel of Prime.
I got to bring up Ahmed's comment because I'm controlling the chat highlights, and he agrees with me. So, cheers.
You're the best horse ever. I gotta say though, after watching you on these restreams and stuff, it's like I was listening to the audiobook and I got to this part and it's like, and then mounted pips, and I'm just like,
Hey, Matt's my favorite. I'm very selective. Very selective.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm just it's
No,
great.
it is great.
Pips and Bella.
Oh yeah, Bella's my jam. She got that flank that just won't stop.
Pips like some throat and thick, apparently.
Yeah.
Hey. Everybody's got different tastes. You don't have to agree with it. Just don't knock it. All right. Oh man, I feel like we kind of got through most of the stuff we wanted to get through. I don't know. I feel like there's so many other stuff we could just kind of roll through. So I'll leave it to you guys, chat. What do you think? We've only been going for like 30 minutes. You want us to just roll up and randomly pull some other news stuff and take advantage of our guest here?
Yeah, let's
there was one other thing that I wanted to point out about this casting that I thought was interesting, and is one of the other reasons. One of the other reasons that I liked this casting is this actress. I'm not going to insult her by butchering her name again. Is like an actual, like, genuine, not contemptible feminist. Like, there's a lot of people on this production that sort of give themselves that label, and it always kind of irritates the shit out of me. Like when Judkins gives it to him, like, dude, intersexual storytelling doesn't make you a feminist. It just makes you an asshole.
I get so annoyed with that. Sorry.
Yeah. Where in the case of her, she literally took on the role in the casting of Shariah M, knowing that it was going to get her blackballed from acting in her home country. Like she took that role and never worked in Iranian cinema ever again.
Wow, I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, and it's one of those things. I have a lot of respect for people that are willing to actually put it on the line
Yeah.
to stand for their beliefs. And you know, do I agree with her in everything? No, but
But yeah, you
I'll
gotta give her respect for that.
yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that role? I don't know if you've seen it or if you've done any research on it. Like I said, the first thing I ever saw her in was The Expanse, and I from that experience I know that she's clearly a very competent actress, right? Like she owns the scene every time she's in it and like really crushes it. So from that perspective, I can really respect her casting, but I generally don't seek out kind of actors and actresses, sort of like real world kind of stuff, because I think that a lot of times, A, I'm disappointed, and B, I think it colors the way I see them. But it sounds like you've done some research here. So,
So the casting of Soraya M was, or I'm sorry, the stoning of Soraya M was a movie that really kind of called out and drew attention to just how fucked up the Iranian patriarchy was. Um, and the movie, the it's about sort of a woman telling a journalist the story of Soraya M. And she was married to a guy who wanted to basically dump her, move on, and marry a 14-year-old. So she got a job sort of as a maid in a different rich guy's house, and then her husband accused her of adultery, and basically with no proof, with no anything, he basically just bribed the local authorities, and she ended up being found guilty and killed. She was stoned to death. And it was a super critical look at the Iranian judicial system and the way in which men's words are taken above women's. And then not only there's even a value differentiation between men based on sort of their religion and their social status. So, and it was a highly critical role, to the point that, people even said, you guys got preachy with it. We got it after a while. You could have made it an entertaining movie. But, they decided that was really what she was going for. And, so they told the story, and now neither her nor anybody who worked in that movie is allowed to work in Iranian cinema ever again.
I know people don't realize, like, it made me think of a movie called, it's a really good vampire movie called, I think it's A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, and it was made by an Iranian female director. Beautiful movie, shot black and white, and I was tripping out because I used to live in Bakersfield, and there's some really bad parts of Bakersfield, and I used to ride my bike around there, and I saw it on the show, and I'm like, this is like an Iranian movie. It's not even in English. And then I looked in the IMDb and found out that she couldn't even film that movie in her own country. She went out to Bakersfield and filmed it there. And I was just like, it really struck me, because it's like you hear these people and they're just complaining about like the air conditioning sexist, and I'm like, there's a woman out there who can't shoot a movie in her own country because it breaks laws, and we're sitting here arguing about 50 genders and just stupid things.
Yeah.
So the question got asked about Twitter drama related to the casting announcement, and then there was another thing. Someone said that we could talk about the Rings of Power. The way you guys had this discussion actually reminded me the San Diego Comic-Con, the casting discussion with the actors and actresses from the Rings of Power, and I think one of them is Iranian, but hasn't ever lived in Iran, and brought up that she's an activist and really is trying to like highlight and sort of put a lens on what she like assumes about sort of activists and women who are doing things back in her sort of home country. And man, like that really seemed pretty limp when I like heard her say that. And hearing you guys talk about what this actress has gone through in comparison, like, okay, there's a like we are not the same sort of a moment
Yeah,
there
it's
where
that
like
moment.
one of these two is not like the others. And so anybody who's thinking about those Rings of Power casting announcement, it seems like even on the activist front,
So much of it's just like
falling
empty
short.
virtue signaling. I mean, like I've had a very interesting life. Like if I started telling you stories about me, you'd probably think I was like mad or something. But before I went back to school and I went to film school, I was a professional race car driver, and I oftentimes I'd be either the only female driver in the race, or I'd have like maybe there'd just be a couple of us. But I mean, I had some really bad experiences. Like I've been straight up like thrown out of races, like for no reason other than like I beat somebody that they didn't want me to beat. And you know what? I went in there knowing what I was gonna get in. I knew there was like a male dominated sport. I know they don't like look well towards women necessarily, and they have like all of the car models. And so I knew what I was doing, and I've never considered myself a feminist. I wanted to be a good role model for people, but like now I see this stupid like see what feminism has become. It's so demeaning for people that have had to go through really difficult things and have had to struggle against real significant issues. And it's just like I get so disgusted with these other women, and they're just like they're always just, and so many celebrities too are always like they're trying to latch on to whatever's popular so they'll keep themselves like in the discussion. And it's just really um yeah, I don't really know what to say. Yeah, you can talk about that. Well, so sorry, I'm reading this. It's popping up. I've never done this live streaming platform.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So there's a couple other interesting aspects of her that don't frequently get talked about, and they've, her team has actually done a, a fairly good job of hiding. But she was married and still keeps the last name of a guy named Aiden Agdashlu. And Aiden is probably most famous for either being an artist or being known as the Iranian Harvey Weinstein, in the fact that he has 30 different sexual misconduct allegations leveled at him currently. And in Iran, that's sort of a lot. Um, so I guess I don't know how I feel about that because she wasn't married to him when um, the accusations went live. But I don't know how I would feel, if I was, if I knew that somebody had been married to Harvey Weinstein, how would I feel about that? So I don't know. I posed the question to you two in the chat. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't like, I I have my own kind of story with that. I was doing an internship at the time when the Harvey Weinstein story broke, and I actually found out that the guy that owned the film company that I was working for was very close friends with Harvey Weinstein. And I actually like this guy started grooming me, and I was working on a film that was nominated for an Oscar. And at the time, they had like the whole office had gone out to see the film, and I hadn't seen the film yet. And so this guy invited me to go to the academy and see their screening of it there. And I went with it. And then I saw this guy afterwards, and the guy was like introducing me to all these people, saying all these good things about me, like really wanting to do things to me that, like, in my experience, it's just like, okay, you don't know me. Why are you saying this? It seemed really weird to me, especially because I'd been in a situation like that when I was racing, where I did actually end up in an abusive situation. I'll just leave it at that. But I'm glad I learned from my past to see what was actually going on. And so it just really scared me. And it was so weird to be in that situation because the people in my office didn't think they thought it was a joke, even though, to be perfectly honest, everyone in Hollywood knew about Harvey Weinstein and what he was doing, and how that is really just the culture of Hollywood. Is that kind of like there's either nepotism, there's like sleeping your way to get into things, there's like people that'll ask you to literally like sell your soul or sell something that shouldn't be for sale, and I don't know.
Wow.
It's just I hate it. I couldn't
That's
deal with it, and that's got to be like the number one reason why I left is because I started being around those people, and it was making me have like flashbacks to stuff that happened to me. And I just said, I love storytelling, I love writing, I really want to do this, but it's not worth it. It's just not.
that's terrible. I'm really sorry you went through that. That shouldn't
It's
be
okay.
happening to you. But I don't know that. I guess that's another reason why I find the idea of anybody in Hollywood claiming to be a feminist is laughable. Like,
I know it's just such a joke, and you can't even see the stuff that people do, and it's like it drives me crazy because like yeah, there are women that are generally victims, and then there's women who play into the system and keep perpetrating it. And I was like, if more women would just say no, I'm not going to do this, and just not play the game, then there wouldn't be a game to play. So in some ways I get mad at them, but I don't know. I just have a lot of feelings about it, and it's just sad to see it. And it's sad to see that there are in like every industry like this, there's always a Harvey Weinstein. Like there's an Iranian Harvey Weinstein, there's like a whatever, like in different industries, there's always somebody like that, and it just is gross.
absolutely.
Lyle, I don't know if you have to leave us or not, but thanks for coming out, walking the
Yeah,
light
thank
if you are having to
you.
leave. And then it looks like the comments are, I think, echoing kind of Alex here. Yeah, it's honestly, it's one of those situations. Not really sure kind of what to say or add to it, other than like that's terrible situation you have had to personally deal with, and then obviously, really, really hearts go out for anyone who finds himself in that situation.
Yeah.
So like, this woman and the situation with her husband, like, so it sounds like Alex, you were saying that she wasn't married at the time. I'm not sure how the timeline for that matches up, but I mean,
So
if there's stuff like that going on, obviously, that's terrible and tragic for both her and anybody else who was caught up in it.
Yeah. I'd almost say like with stuff I've heard from that area, like my ex-husband used to work in the oil industry out there, and I mean, I could say a lot of times if like someone was saying, "Oh, the wife or whoever didn't know about what was going on and it was America," I could honestly believe I wouldn't believe that at all, but over there I might be more likely to believe it because there are the culture is just so different. It's like they have the way they treat different like classes of people, both like in terms of like their social class or like their race too. It's really really different from here.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
anyone who's traveled in that part of the world much definitely recognizes
Good on you, Lyle.
how
Yeah, I agree.
how completely alien. And I say alien is probably not the right word. It's just, I mean, foreign is the right word, right? It is.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very
different.
hard as a person who kind of grew up in the West, obviously, and has what we think are fairly universal values, and to be confronted with the fact that like they're actually not universal values. They're actually hard won and like struggled for values. Um, so it's yeah.
yeah. It's one of those things that I don't know whether to look at that from sort of how it reflects upon her, either as you know, uh, she was a almost a co-conspirator, but I don't think that's right. The way that I choose to look at it is, she recognized it, she knew it was a problem, she got out, and then sort of she spent the next 40 years sort of working against that, and trying to make it better for the people coming after her. So I choose to look at it as a positive. I don't know, everybody will look at
Yeah.
that situation differently, but um,
It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know like the details of that situation, so I try to like learn as much as I can if I try to make a decision about somebody either way.
And to
But
be fair, and clear to anybody who's watching this or is hearing this stuff for the first time, I don't think any of us are alleging she had any knowledge or anything to do with any
Yeah.
of this, anything like that. I
Not
think
at
it's mostly just to circle back to the argument that, like, this is a person who, when we talk about people who are feminists and people who are taking a stand for what they believe in, this is a person who, like Alex said, really put her career on the line for what she believed in, and potentially has some very very real experience with true oppression
Yeah.
and a true patriarchy, right? Like, I mean, if there's anyone who wants to disagree with the idea that Iran is a patriarchy, yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a messed up spot. So I apologize. I feel like I interrupted you. You were giving us a great story about your racing career. We were
Oh goodness.
That is true. We definitely want to hear those stories. I want to know, first of all, I mean, how many gold medals? Like, were you a
Gold medals.
successful racer?
I was
Got the cup?
successful. I was the first woman to win a national rally race in the US. I did that in, I think it was
Wow.
like 2007 or 2008. I drove a Mitsubishi Evolution 6.5 Tommy Mackinnon edition, and it's a four-wheel drive car. And if you don't know what rally racing is, it's basically you take street cars, soup up the suspension and change the tires, and they race off road. And it's an endurance race, and it's a time and distance race, so you're not racing on a track. We race off road, and we do it like the deserts and the mountains. Pikes Peak is a really famous race that used to be just all dirt. Now it's all paved. I've done that twice. I've won the California Rally Championship a couple of times. And I started off with like a really slow car, and I learned to drive that fast. And then I ended up just going up to a little faster car, and then I was in the Evo, and that was really fun. I've also drifted a little bit, like when drift started coming to the US, and that's really fun. And I really enjoyed it for what it was, but it's a very expensive hobby. And at the time that I stopped, which is around 2008, like I ended up getting I had a lot of sponsorships, and I was getting to the point where like they were start paying for like my practicing and stuff like that. And it just didn't work out because the economy collapsed and I lost all my sponsorships, and it was okay. But then again, like I said with Hollywood, it was like there was a really high price to pay for that. And you get tired of paying that price. But I enjoyed it while it was going, and I'd love to get in a car again and just go 100 miles an hour sideways in the dirt.
So I don't really know what to say. I feel like we've got the chat basically telling us stop talking about Wheel of Time because we need to get more rally talk here. Got Vic Rattlehead basically just like, yeah, man.
Yeah, added turbo
Evo
to
in
my
there.
Pikes Peak car. My Pikes Peak car had like about 650 horsepower. And God, what was the torque on it? I can't remember. Yeah, Colin McRae. Yeah, Colin McRae is awesome. I've met like a lot of people, a lot of the World Rally Championship drivers. I went to Rally Mexico and Rally in Australia, and that was just awesome. And I remember meeting Carlos Sainz, and he was just, oh my goodness. But yeah, I definitely love my Mitsubishi. So,
man, we need more interesting hosts.
Dan, gonna need you to step up your game, buddy.
I know it's cool, like talking about the stuff with you guys in the chat and going on Discord every day. There's always something exciting to talk about. Yes, I did meet Sebastian Loeb, Vic. Yes, he's a really funny person. He doesn't speak English very well, so there's like I also I met Marcus Gronholm. I've met Petter Solberg too. Petter Solberg's a freaking he's a party animal, and he's really fun to hang out with. They'd have like a lot at the WRC events. They usually after the 3-day race, they'd have like a party, and like it's open to anyone, so fans and stuff can go, and you can meet them there. And I met them at the services and stuff. But yeah, Sebastian Loeb's pretty cool. Banking. Fractional reserve banking, man, in the Fed, man. I'm gonna thread.
Yeah, we need to. Let's see. Has Dane tried to log in? I don't think he was available tonight. but he could come and give stock tips, and then we had Nate come in giving us banking tips, and then we'd all realize super boring jobs compared to rally cars and Hollywood movies and stuff like that.
It's fun, but
So
like, yeah, you guys make a lot more money than I do. Like, you probably did. I know, like, there's an old joke. Well, how do you make a small fortune in rally or racing? Like, you start with a large one.
I was going to
That is
say, I
so
grew up on a farm, and we made the same joke. It's how do you make a small fortune? You start with a large one in the farm.
Oh my gosh, what kind of a farm did you have?
So I will say that the farm that I grew up on, it was up in Central Valley, California, not too far from
Oh, yeah.
Bakersfield, um, was honestly a ranch, not a farm, small one.
That's,
Mostly horses, a couple cows. We got some orchards and stuff like that.
oh, that's nice.
Um,
I'd move to a farm or a ranch right now.
yeah. And then the family farms. My grandparents on both sides farmed, and my brother and sister in law run the family farm up in Oregon, which
Oh,
is
nice.
that's a proper farm. That's it's I think it's about 400 acres.
Wow.
So
I know
that
my
one is
backyard is like a farm now, and I've been listening to you guys when I've been canning because all my produce is coming in now. So I just like put on a rewatch and like laugh with you guys.
all right. Man of Anethrin, do you want to hop in real quick? Aldan needs banking tips, so we'll just get you in the chat too. And then Gadfly is making my point for me. Yeah.
No,
the
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 question
only
you need to ask Pips is like, Pips, do you have sheep herder cred?
I have sheared sheep. I've sheared sheep. I've bottle fed lambs. I've milked goats.
I bought a fed lamb
Uh,
too. My grandparents they had a farm like in a place called City of Industry, and it's like totally industrial now. But they had sheep too, and yeah.
I supervised a very large building going up in the City of Industry. That,
Oh really?
yeah, that was a
Cool.
horrific project.
Yeah, I
we,
would
we had to bring you up so we could show the disappointment on your face as you realize you're not a rally car driver.
No, I will
So
never have a job as cool as Mrs. Balefire.
that's why I'm keeping myself over on the sidelines here. I don't need people to see my facial expressions.
I want to hear what Madam Atherin has to say about compound interests. He needs to get in he needs to get in here.
So
cool.
we've gotten to the portion of the chat where we no longer have a script. We're going off script. It means the wheels are falling off. We're going out into the dirt.
Is the wheel broken? Or are we going to make like, you know what I'm almost expecting? Because they keep going in Wheel of Time, like these women are the dragons, and they keep saying that like 5 people are the dragons. It just reminds me in Game of Thrones when like Daenerys is always talking about like, oh, the 3 heads of the dragon, and then there's like, if you read the books, there's like a false dragon too, or a mummer's dragon, like Team Fig on here. Let's go. And I keep thinking, like, because they keep saying it's like a Gwyn and a Neve, and I'm just like, yeah, you guys, you need a Gwyn and a Neve, and then bring Daenerys back from the dead, and like, there you go, like, feminist.
We need the crossover.
Daenerys is always like, I'm gonna break the wheel, which I don't think was ever in the book, which is so retarded coming from her, because what is she trying to do? Like, literally get to the top of the wheel? But
wait a second. I never watched the last season of Game of Thrones, and I have blanked. I've blanked season 7, I think, from my memory. Is that a line that Daenerys said in the show that she's going to break the wheel?
That she's going to break the wheel, like in terms of like, you know, I think it's like when she's in like Yunkai or Marine or something, and she like frees a whole bunch of slaves or something, and she's like, I'm going to break the wheel, which to me makes nothing, because her whole trip to power like is her saying like, I'm the last living Targaryen, I'm going to get an army in Essos, and I'm going to go back to Westeros and take the Iron Throne. So honey, you ain't going to break the wheel, you are the wheel.
Yep.
Like, it's all the story of a privileged person getting dragons and then continuing to be privileged.
Yeah, I want to say this, and I'm afraid to like, I wanted to go to Reddit to say this, but I'm like, if I bring this up, I'm going to get banned. And when I read Wheel of Time, I was just blown away by the similarities to Game of Thrones. Like, I could say Game of Thrones, like, to me, and I say this not derogatory, because I've written fan fiction and stuff like that, and I enjoy it sometimes, But
man, what kind of fan fiction did you write?
Please post a link.
guys, I wrote like a 350,000 word like fan fiction, like Game
Is
of
that?
Thrones
I
like,
feel like
novel. Yeah.
350,000 words. At what point is it just fiction, not fan fiction?
Yeah, that's what I realized. I
That's
started writing
700
the story.
pages.
Yeah, I started writing the story when I was in film school because I wanted to just try to give myself like a plot where I finish it and I have certain things to do. And then I ended up finishing it like a few months last month, and I want to edit it and stuff. And it really could be its original story. It's just the world building in it because I use the world. I mean, in this story that I wrote, most of it takes place in Essos. It's like, I think like probably 75% of the characters are original characters. So at that point, I'm just like, I need to just start writing my stuff. And I'm like, that's the last fan fiction thing I'm ever writing. But yeah, when I read Game of Thrones, I was like, this is like Wheel of Time fan fiction. I mean, like Dies Damar. I mean, I thought that was poorly done in Wheel of Time because it's what screenwriters would call too on the nose. It's like too obvious that they're always saying we're playing this game. I mean, you're obviously playing a game, a political game. Like you don't have to keep saying it, but George took that idea, and then I really saw like, oh, like Cersei's really like Cersei, and or my original take on like reading Elaine and Gawain was that that's a Cersei and Jaime's like a really hot take on them, and like I was just like, oh yeah, and there's so much of Rand in Daenerys. Like there's even like when she goes to I think it was Yunkai, and they have all the slaves like crucifying the slaves, and they're all pointing the way. Well, that happens when Couladin is going towards Carrion, and like he does that for Rand. And I know the first 3 books of Wheel of Time were out by the time like the first Game of Thrones was published. And so I was just like, God, like it just made me angry just as a writer because I'm like, you could be a little bit more creative. And then especially when like Dany gets stuck in Marine, it's really kind of like what happens with Rand and Tyr. Except Rand was able to figure it out. And even Dany has like 3 like lovers. She has that love triangle going. And then she has that prophecy where she's going to have like 3 people that are going to betray her, and it's all the same. It's like she has like
So
draw and stuff. It's like
so I think your Game of Thrones knowledge is probably way deeper than mine. I have read all of the books, but I've only read them once. I've read some of the novellas and stuff like that. It's one of those books like I really enjoyed the read, but I became convinced that he's never going to finish it, and I'm like I'm not going to keep reading and like theorizing about a story that's never going to get resolved. Like it's just not worth my time. But the take you just said something that made me think here. So when Rafe says that he's trying to write the next Game of Thrones, do you think that we're going to get the inverted love triangle? So you said Dany had 3 lovers instead of Rand having 3. Are we going to get Egwene having 3?
I could see that, honestly. It's like, I was surprised you guys didn't pick this up, but there's a part in episode 8 when Rand and Moraine have gone out into...
We haven't gotten to episode 8 yet.
I know. So you've watched the show, right? Like you've seen it?
I actually have not seen episode 8. So I watched the fake prologue, right? I watched the fake prologue in the old tongue and was like, I'm done. I DNF'd it, and I was just like, I cannot finish this. And since then, like I watched, I think I read Sneed and Dane's reviews, and I watched other content creators make their reviews. Like I know what happened in it, but I could never force myself to go back and watch it. Like it is.
It's so bad. No, but there's a part, and like Egwene is sitting on the bed, and she's like, "Oh, I should go to Rand because I'm in love with Rand." And then Perrin is there, and he looks at her, and he's like, "I love Rand too." And it's just the context and the way that he says it, and it's so like a declaration that I'm like, there is going to be some kind of a like love triangle with like Rand and somebody, like.
Aldan's telling me to read the books. I'm on it, man. I'm in A Crown of Swords on my reread right now.
Yeah, I know somebody's saying they don't agree with me that they think there's similar in differences between. I'm not saying it's like a copy of the book. I'm just saying that like there are a lot of ideas and themes in Wheel of Time that are in like Game of Thrones. I mean, the whole like Dizemar, that is the Game of Thrones, and then there are a lot of characters that are really similar and situations that are like similar. So I'm not saying he copied it because I've explained this to people, and I'm just saying as a writer, it's like I've read things and I'm like, I really like this idea. I'm going to kind of like play on it differently. Like this book I'm reading right now, like Dragonbone Chair. There's actually a lot of ideas in this story that I can recognize in both Wheel of Time and in Game of Thrones. So it's like I'm not saying anyone copied anything. I'm just saying I was just so surprised at how similar the two series were with like characters and stuff like that. And I was just surprised. That was all.
It should be
interesting that you talk about this because it's there's an idea that fantasy writers come in trios. And the most famous ones was obviously the Oxford trio of Tolkien, Lewis, and White. And so those three all sort of heavily influenced each other to the extent that Tolkien is credited for bringing C.S. Lewis back to being a Christian. But sort of the modern trio that people talk about is Martin, Jordan, and Rothfuss. Sort of all took their inspiration from the original Oxford trio, and how Martin identified it and said, I want to take Tolkien and I want to just do everything 180 degrees. I want to subvert every trope. And then Jordan said, I love Tolkien so much, I want to write Tolkien. And so we ended up with the Eye of the World, where there's a magic item that tempts Matt to do all sorts of things. And then Rothfuss, I feel like, sort of said, I want to do both.
Yeah, I really like. I love Name of the Wind. Like, if I had to like say that there's a character, a fantasy character that I most like, it's definitely Close. Like that is, I feel that a lot.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, my copy of Name of the Wind, first I picked it up when it first came out in the hardcover, at my local Barnes and Noble, I think. I mean, God, I really do love it. It's like you said, it's a great book. I've loved all of the ones that we've gotten so far, and maybe ever.
Yeah, that's it.
But
I'm just
man, putting Rothfuss in with Robert Jordan just grinds my gears a little bit. Because Robert Jordan, sure, he didn't finish his series either. If you want to be a dick about it, but the dude wrote a freaking shelf of books, right? And did everything he could to make sure that his series would get finished after he got diagnosed.
Yeah,
and so I think there's something different. I would not say either one is. I guess I would put it this way. I think that Rothfuss clearly took notes from Jordan. I don't think Jordan took any notes from Rothfuss. I think temporally, Rothfuss was pretty much after Jordan was mostly done, right?
That's the one that's forced in the trio now. But to an extent is forced in the Oxford trilogy.
But the other thing that I would say, so if I recall from your kind of introduction here, you said you're kind of a new fantasy reader, right? So,
yeah, like I didn't really read it. Like I didn't start deep diving into fantasy until probably like this year.
So do you think your perception of like seeing the similarities, because I would say, I think to the point Alex is making, that like this is maybe a lot of people kind of going to the same well, right? So like nothing new under the sun, that kind of concept.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because I could see people borrowing from like this Tad Williams book, or I could see people borrowing from Tolkien. I mean there are only so many stories you can tell, and to me it's always about like the execution of it, like the differences in writing. Like George R. R. Martin has a very like different like narrative style than Jordan does. I mean, like Jordan's books are a lot more straightforward. You have a lot more like action focused on stuff, where like Martin's characters are like more introverted. There's more like kind of intrigue plots. There's not so much action. And I mean, you get to like Rothfuss, and that's different. Like you have the first person narration. You have this sort of like interview with the vampire kind of set up with the story. and it's interesting. I mean, I enjoy all three of the books. I like them a lot. Like I totally binge read like Name of the Wind and Wise Man's Fear. I mean, I respect all of them. I mean, if I had to say of all the authors that I like, the only one I can say I really don't like that I've read so far is Sanderson, and that's just because his writing style, and it's not like it isn't interesting. I'm just not a huge fan of it, but I mean,
So
I
what
appreciate what he's done a lot too. He's done amazing things, and his lectures are great. I would highly recommend to anyone that wants to write to listen to them.
what do you think you don't like about his style? Because I think one of the things that I've noticed about his style, and it doesn't bother me. I'm fine with it. But one of the things that I've noticed about his style is that his style is probably the most like plain spoken in its voice. Like
Yeah,
it's super accessible. I saw someone writing recently.
yeah.
I don't even remember where this was from. It might have been from the Discord. Somebody was saying that like Sanderson as a non-native English speaker is like awesome, and
He's
that like
not a native English speaker.
no,
Oh,
as
oh
someone
no!
who
Oh,
is
like someone who's
redirect.
yeah yeah or like in terms of translations. So reading translations of him. Jonathan R. Thanks for coming
yeah,
out.
Jonathan, take care.
Um, So is that kind of what you've noticed as well, and that's not a style that you like, or is there something else about the way
Yeah,
you write?
I feel like I'm gonna say this, and I know that my tastes tend to be kind of snobbish and stuff. It's like I've been reading since I was a little kid. I mean, I think the first really long book was Tale Chaser's Song. Like I read that when I was in elementary school, and I tend to like things that are a little bit like more dense and intellectual. Like I just read this book by John M. Ford called Aspects, and that is a really like very narratively heavy, I guess you could say, a book. Like there's a lot of world building, there's a lot of really good writing, and I really enjoy that. I don't think a lot of people would, or like reading Faulkner or something like that. I enjoy that. People don't. But when I read Sanderson stuff, it's just like it didn't have any weight to it. Like my mom would like describe some of these books as like she would read things and like, oh, this is a potato chip book. Like she'd take it to the beach or something, and she's like, it's good book and it's fun to read, but there isn't like a lot of substance. And I feel like I don't want to like I mean, I don't want to like disparage somebody's writing because it's just not my style. It is very accessible, but it's just something like when I read it, like I read Alloy of Law, and it's just like I felt like I'd already like read the book or I knew what would happen, and I wasn't really surprised in it, and it wasn't like it didn't have me asking questions about something or wondering what I read. Like I'll read like Game of Thrones and start thinking about plots, or like did I miss something in this paragraph, or I'll thinking of like, or like, oh my gosh, what happened to Rand on the Dragon Mount? Like what symbolically did that mean? And
Have you read his Stormlight archive stuff?
I started it, and honestly it just wasn't holding my interest, and I was trying to read some other like western themed fantasy that people had recommended, so I might go back to it. I think that was a little more interesting to me than Alloy of Law. I have
So I
not read
think
Stormlight through, so
I feel
Okay.
like in Alex, have you? I don't know how much you've read of Sando's books. I feel like Stormlight is one of his more like complex stories. Um, I think that in the Mistborn sort of like world, the original trilogy is probably more interesting and like gets you thinking more, like questioning more, like that kind of stuff that you're talking about, than the sort of later, like the Alloy of Law kind of trilogy, which I thought was a very sort of generic but
mhm.
fun, sort of like magical Western kind of.
Yeah, it
Um,
reminded me of that that new like I can't think of the name of it. Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes. Do you
Oh,
remember that movie? It was like Book of Shadows or something like that.
yep.
yeah. Peter, I'm going to highlight this comment here. Peter
I
basically
totally agree
saying
with you.
needs to apply some of that. Yeah, it's been pretty disappointing. I think a lot of us were hoping that he would say a lot more. Uh, yeah. Honestly, I think that I can fairly look at him and just say he is like an eminently nice guy. I don't think I've ever heard him say anything negative about like anyone. So I think it's
Rian
probably
Johnson's The Last Jedi.
it's probably too much for us to expect that he would say negative stuff about most things, and especially like he does have his own like he owns a part of the world and like wants to see it done, but he also has his own projects. Like, so I get the kind of personal stuff in there as well, but yeah,
You
I
talk
still would
about
like to become out harder.
you talk about the personal stuff. Miss Balefire. I mean, I'm sure you have friends in the industry that have worked on stuff that you think is just shit.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, to be like, even when I was racing, it's like I would get certain sponsorships, and I was like, kind of not expected to say certain things or not be honest with my opinions. And to me, that got to a point where it was like, it was started making me feel uncomfortable because like I couldn't say that like maybe I had a bad experience with this person or like something happened to me or like I didn't feel like something was safe and I felt like I couldn't speak out. In Hollywood it is really bad. I mean, you really have to kiss so much butt to like make it in there. You have to have the right opinions. You have to have like the right connections. And I can see that Sanderson really wants to get his stuff optioned and he's spoken about writing his own screenplays and I respect the hustle for that. I mean, I just really hope that he doesn't like, he doesn't have a bad experience with it. But I mean, it is disheartening to see people like go like that because you will generally where you could maybe say something that would like be more honest or something like they just don't say it because they're so afraid of offending people and they're just want so badly to be in the in circle that they'll just do anything, which is kind of like what I think what Rafe Jenkins is doing this, going from being somebody that's producing like unscripted reality shows, he's trying to get into that upper echelon of like dramatic series because they usually have like a larger budget and there's more opportunities.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know the connection that he has at Sony, but the projects that man is getting for just garbage product is just baffling. I
I I have some ideas on that, but I don't. But you could talk to me on Discord if you want to see what my theory on that is. And
Is it a theory or you got some juicy stuff?
no,
Well,
if I had actual factual things, I would bring them to you. But it is just my own theory based on things that I've seen. I just think that I think I sent you something about it like once about what I saw in the beginning of episode 2 because a lot of people are like, "What the heck is this?" And I had somebody that had researched what that thing was with when Valda eats that sparrow. That I was kind of like, that's a really weird image to throw in there. Like he's trying to tell somebody something. I won't talk about it here. If you're curious, go on Discord and ask me and send me a DM or something.
well, also if you're curious about hearing more from our lovely guest Miss Balefire here, I guess we might as well just plug that you're going to be on the rewatch with us in
Yes, thank you.
2 weeks,
2
right?
weeks.
We got
Yes,
3
I'm
weeks.
excited. Yeah.
3 weeks. You'll be doing the first part of episode 6 with us, which I would say it's going to be a blast. I think we will have a blast. Like
Well, I'm
my
trying to
soul
figure out
is going to hurt.
what to drink to bring. I've taken notes through the whole thing because I can't remember like is is so the episode 6 starts when they get into Tarvalon. I have to watch it again. Like
So it's got the cold open of Swan having her
yeah,
house
she
burned
goes away.
down,
Yeah,
and she takes the little pole boat upriver
a fish
through the
tag off,
mountains.
dude.
So like the mountainous river with I'm sure no rapids, no any other stuff. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be great. It'll be fine. She'll make it all the way there. Aldan, I mean, we don't disagree with you, but like a little hurtful.
was gonna say there's still 66% of the original cast on here, man.
Come on, you
Yeah,
guys, they're awesome. Like
ouch. Aldan's been a guest with us. His video is
I know
dropping
I wanted
tomorrow.
to see him. I missed out because I'm just like I'm like to quote this edge lord in like Game of Thrones. What's his name?
All right, at least Aldan has grouped
yeah,
himself in
yeah. He
with
says,
the.
"I'm a creature," or like men call me Dark Star. I am of the night. I'm like, yeah, somebody wrote that line. That's me though. I sleep in like really late because I stay up really late and write when it's quiet in the house. So I missed you. Sorry, Aldan.
He was also a phenomenal guest. His accent is.
I know. I love Australians. Just don't call them New Zealanders, right?
I think Aldan, tell us in the chat if you're married. Are we have to kick you out of here? She's talking about your accent. This is we're not quite onto the late night stream, guys.
No. I just say this because I dated a New Zealander at one point in time, so I learned all the really good sheep jokes. So I'm kind of sick of sheep jokes. I'm like, burn me sheep jokes in Wheel of Prime.
I'll pull this up from earlier. Sven, if you're still here, Sven was also expressing similar. His interest in the channel has been compounded by our new guest.
Yeah, like you need some women in the Whitecloaks. I mean, they didn't have women. I mean, like they didn't have women, but that's okay.
Well, we don't know that they didn't.
Hannah. Oh, you're talking in the books, yeah? No, where.
Yeah. I would say the Whitecloaks in the books were certainly a almost purely martial organization, despite the robes that they wore inexplicably in the Wheel of Prime.
Yeah.
Actually, I take that back. Those were not robes.
Like, oh my god, no,
those were not robes. Those were dresses.
Yeah, they were wearing.
No Aes Sedai wore dresses.
No, not at all.
So I've always sort of made the assumption that the Whitecloaks in the books seem like the most.
Aldan is available.
Oh, let's go.
Seem like the most fashionably dressed of the factions.
Yeah, they have, and they all have the Chad meme haircut. I don't think that's a mistake. I just think that's so funny.
Hi, Stan. How's it going? Pips and company saying hi to us all, not just me. We know he was really saying hi to Miss Balefire over here.
So my conclusion is that considering how well dressed the Whitecloaks are, either there are several women in the Whitecloaks, or there are a couple of very gay Whitecloaks that they have just deferred all fashion choices to. Either way, I feel like we get some diversity points. Like, there's no way straight dudes came up with those outfits. Like,
yeah. Oh my goodness.
Well, if our theory about the Gallad casting is correct, you might get a twofer on your call there.
I know when my brother saw the Whitecloaks, he doesn't know it. He saw this. He saw half of episode 3 and episode 4, and when he saw the Whitecloaks, he seriously thought they were supposed to be like the Klan or something, like in Blazing Saddles. Because when the sheriff that's black comes in, and he's trying to sign up for the Klan, and he has the robes on, and he's like, "Oh, it's my hands are dirty from the cross burning," and I'm just like.
First of all, Blazing Saddles, amazing movie. It should not be mentioned in the same sentence.
I know, but he's like, "Who are these people? I don't understand it." And he was like Whitecloak worthy for this thing. Just the stuff that was coming up. I mean, when he saw Rand, he thought he was like an albino black guy. And I was just like, what? And then as I started watching the show, I started thinking, I'm like, I could see it maybe. And he didn't know any of it. And he figured out that Rand was a dragon, and the story is just so funny. I can't wait to tell it. I don't know if I should say it now or the rewatch.
You gotta save it for the rewatch. We gotta save it for the rewatch.
So funny. And I'm just like, how do you know these things? And he knows nothing about the wheel time, but it was a perfect in-universe example. And I was just blown away. So.
Oh, where are all the white women at? Yep. Swan. That's classic Swan. Are we going to turn this into the Rings of Power meme where it's just my favorite part was the scene where Swan Sanche. Oh man, Nate never disappoints with just.
You know what, you guys? I need a meme for Wings of Power and that Tigraine birth fight scene, because I'm like, she's wearing the same outfit as Galadriel. Just look at it. You can't.
I'm not the only person that noticed that the two of them look very strangely
I'm like, you wore it
similar.
Better. I'm like, she's hanging off a cliff, but man, she can't give birth, dude.
It's true. She's still not quite an Aiel. Sad.
If you're one of the VFX people on that Rings of Power show, aren't you trying to fight the people that did the practical sets? Like, we have the best in the world working with morons. Like, pick one. Why did you spend so much money on VFX and just spend nothing on the practical side of things? Why did?
I know. There's one thing. I unfortunately, like, I'm an old woman here, and like I was in college, like, and I was being coached basically from Name of the Wind. Like, I was taking like 4 classes at UCLA, and then I took classes in audio engineering at night from the extension, and I learned something about audio. It's like you don't fix it in post, okay? You just don't. If you can fix it like when you're filming it or like when you're recording it, you fix it when you're filming it. And it just seems with all of these shows, it's like, okay, we'll like green screen that, or like we'll fix it in post, and then it's like the result that they do, because they're either at the end of the production or they just don't know what they want at the time, it ends up looking like crap. And it just like
I'm feeling very personally attacked because I feel like anyone who's watched the Whitecloaks rewatches has heard probably multiple times of either me saying or Dane telling me to fix something in post.
And, I noticed that, and I'm like, but at least your excuse is you're on a live stream, so I'll give it to you.
We're usually not. We tape them, and then,
I know you tape them, but like you're in a group conversation, so it's not like, oh, I just sneezed, like, cut it out. But like, there's no excuse for like there's like bad lighting, like the lighting in that show. Like, what was up with it?
I appreciate you giving me some leeway versus the show here. Manamanathra and Nate, thank you for coming in. And
thank you for all your guys' streams, like you and Prophet and everyone, and Night's Watch too. Those guys are really funny. That's how I found you guys, actually.
Oh, cool.
It was on Night's Watch, and someone was saying what happened to our Whitecloaks, and then I was like, well, I wanted to go read the discussion over there because it seemed like more of a discussion I like to have, but I absolutely hate Reddit. And then I saw, oh, they got yeeted from Reddit, and they're on Discord, and I'm like not much of a bigger fan of Discord because there's a lot of censorship and stuff. But I went on, and I'm just like, oh, you guys are nice to be around cool people.
Miss Balefire is just so based.
Can you sign that for us? We
just need to lock down a contract for representation here. Get you exclusive to the channel. And then all of us will just leave, and you'll just take over the channel, and viewership will skyrocket.
I don't want that. It's no fun if I can't talk to you guys. I mean, I'm like, I thought so funny, and I kept thinking of this, is how stupid the rings are in the show. The rings that
so bad,
have, and they're like colors of it, and so I'm like, well, I have this like ring, and it's purple, so I'm gonna make the purple Aja, and it's for like tomboys that go to the Black Tower because it's so much cooler over there, and like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I like it. The purple Aja.
A purple Aja, because we're the tomboy like Aja that goes and hangs out with all the guys in the Black Tower.
Don't give them an idea to add Ajas for.
I know.
Like gender roles.
Like rainbow or something.
We're gonna get the pink Aja here in like 5 seconds. This is gonna go viral, and the pink Aja is gonna be a thing.
Oh my god!
I'm straight up worried we're gonna get the purple Aja because there's not going to be enough representation at the Black Tower.
Oh, I know. Oh my god! It'll be like
asking. I'm asking a question about Gaul and Avienda. So I think we talked about that on our last live stream. I don't know if you've seen the season 2 teaser trailer. Did you see our breakdown of it, or somebody else's, or just see it live?
I was actually on the live stream when Prophet did it, and that was really funny. Like, I was looking at some of those pictures, and I'm like, I swear that woman's khakis have like a pocket, like it. I used to work at Target, and I'm just like. And it kept picking me up like that State Farm commercial. He's like,
that's the same one. I was gonna be like, khakis.
It's Avienda from State Farm at 2 a.m.
Oh man, episode 6 is gonna be a real fun rewatch. It's gonna be good.
I just
Um,
can't with this show.
but from this question here, I think so. Ahmed, I don't know if you've or how many of the rewatches you've followed up on, but our operating theory is that Gaul is dead. That Gaul was the Aiel that we saw in the cage in Green Spring in episode 3, right? Episode 3.
Yeah.
So Gaul's dead. The stuff he had on his body is part of the reason we think that. A, the Aiel in a cage, that would be Gaul.
Yep.
And then B, we saw he had a little stone dog like in his pocket. And I don't know why a stone dog would have a stone dog, but like, why else would they put that on an Aiel if not to like, oh, Easter egg?
And like, does anyone want to explain to me like why Tom like robbed Matt, and then after being robbed by this total jerk face, like he ends up saying just like, okay, I'm totally gonna hang out with you now?
Because he read the script.
I'm just like, what? I mean, like Matt. I mean, my brother thought Matt was like a drug addict.
That's what he looks like. He looks like he is living in San Francisco right now.
I know. I'm just like, what the heck? And I think you guys have gotten past this by the time we get on there. But he thought like there's this part, and I think it's the end of episode 3 or 4. Where like they get to Tarvalon and they're like in the hotel, and it's like
we just did that with Aldan.
Rand looks at the bed and he's like, "This room is really expensive," and they just show one bed, and then they show Rand and Matt looking at each other, and then like Matt looks at Rand, like implying that they're gonna have to pay for their bed somehow, and then only it is to the end of the scene, then they show there's 2 beds in the room.
So we did just actually, I think that's part of the video that's coming out on. I
think that's Thursday.
Yeah, I think that's the Thursday video. I'm editing videos, so sometimes I lose track of which one is which until I see them again when they release. You can just imagine me sort of like crudely pasting sort of things together with like literal scissors. Just taking my film rolls and just kind of
Oh my goodness. It's still better than what they did. Jesus, oh my god! Like that's such a like that to me. It just shows me they don't understand the basics of film editing, because there's this thing, I think it's called the Kuleshov effect, where it's like you would show like the Russians back in like the early 1900s. They started experimenting with film editing, and they would show like a picture of a man who looks sad, and there's a picture of soup, and then there's a picture of a man that's smiling, and the soup bowl is empty. So the association viewer would make in your head is that the guy was hungry and he ate soup, and now he's happy. So like when you get to that scene with Rand and Matt, it's like to show the bed and to show them, and then Rand says something about the room being really expensive. It's like, what do they want the like audience to think about? And it's just like, what did that add to the scene? I mean, that was kind of my thing as a filmmaker, is like everything in like a movie, like it's there for a reason. You put it there for a reason. It advances the story or gives us information. And there were so many things in that show that just didn't do any of that. And I was just so like,
so much stuff.
Singular plot item scenes are what they are all about, and it makes no sense. And you can go back to the very first scene in the show, post prologue, where they push Egwene into the river.
Yeah, like what information does that give us? I mean, like if I had to be as a thing, I mean, the great example of that is when I was canning like last week. I found some audio clips of the audiobooks, and I was listening to the opening of Eye of the World with Luce there, and my brother heard that, and he's just like, why wasn't that in the show? Like that explains everything. I was reading it, and I'm just like, this would be a scene that would make a great cold opening, like fade to black, and you just hear Luce talking to himself, and then you have that really short conversation. I doubt it would even take 5 minutes of film time. You've just explained the magic system. You've just explained how Sidon was tainted. You just explained who Luce Theron is. Like it
Have you seen Dan and I's conversation about the prologue? We did it. We did like an hour-long discussion with. We went through the graphic novels, so you can see like
Oh,
the
okay.
visual
I
scenes
haven't
of the
seen.
graphic novel.
Oh yeah, I think I started watching that, but I was like, I can't do it because I was canning and I can't watch. Might cut myself.
She was like, I saw that it was super boring, so I like just
No,
hit next.
no.
Great
Just
conversation.
Alex, can you just pull
good
this? Just pull that right out of there. Just that knife.
That's
somewhere
the
back there.
Shadow Logos dagger. Like, so you better hope that's a Wheel of Prime one, so you don't die.
Yeah, I gotta make sure I have a book in my pocket.
I know.
Dane was going through. He said that he was rewatching episode 8, and he's like, I can't stop looking at Loyal's pockets. And he's like, dude, I think you might be right. if Loyal has. If the start of season 2 shows Loyal pulling a book out of his pockets, I'm going to fucking die. Like,
so that poses the significant question: why is he laying on the ground bleeding? But
don't ask, because the script needed it to happen.
You know what? My question is like, why does that dagger look like something he bought from the Indiana Jones Jungle Cruise ride thing in Disneyland?
Like, it's exactly so where the dagger came from.
I know the whole sets just look like Disneyland, which isn't to say that they don't build great sets there. It's just like when you get a set like that, it needs to be lit properly so that it's not obvious that somebody just painted a wall.
Can you imagine having $100 million? Like they say the budget is 80, but it apparently ran over significantly because of COVID.
Yeah. It was like 15 million per episode was the end cost, I think, that I saw, and that's probably before marketing.
Okay, my world, like I was doing indie films and stuff, and there were people that would do like micro budget films for like $50,000, and I couldn't imagine getting like that much of a budget. Like when I was doing film school and stuff, we'd have to budget, and I spoke to line producers and stuff that would be like really like realistic about how much such this film or that film would cost, and I'm just like, okay, like I've learned so many tricks from these classes. It's like when I saw the episode where like I don't know what episode it was. It's like where all the gay warder stuff is happening, and they keep going through this one like hallway.
The answer is all of the episodes is where all the gay warder stuff is happening.
That chest pounding. God, that was so bad. And then I'm watching like House of the Dragon preview, and then I see like the City Watch or somebody's doing that, and I'm like, oh my god, I just started laughing. Like it's over. But anyway, for that, like I was thinking like one of the easiest way. I mean, I'm so used to filming with like no budget that like I could film like 5 different scenes in that hallway set by just changing the staging. It's like how much would it take you 10 minutes to move those statues out, and it's a different hallway, and it just made no sense to me because they kind of set it up as like a warder's place, like where the warders are hanging out, and then that's also like where Nynaeve's quarters are. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, just move the statues, guys. Like 15 minutes. Like it's a new place.
Move the bench, throw a tapestry up. I don't know. I'm just hopeful that this newest short that's supposedly coming out isn't just going to be like Tales from the Warder House at this point.
Yeah, they bungled that up to me. Like that was so bad because I'm just like, so that guy is like he loses his eyesight. I don't remember who she even was, and
Karini or something like that. She was
the lady with the mentioned. I couldn't hold the accent. Man, the accents were so bad in this. I was just like, oh.
Yeah, only mentioned in A New Spring. So
yeah, and I was just like, that was such another bad storytelling thing because you have that guy, and then he's talking to Lan about how he doesn't want to bond with Alana because her warders are gay, and then he ends up killing himself. So like, the logical thing again with the editing is that the assumption is that he wouldn't want to do that because they were gay. So I think their whole thing of including gay characters just kind of blew up in their face, like how they're injecting feminism into these things, and it just makes it worse. So I was just like, you guys are you've lost your way. It's like that.
That was the Night's Watch joke, right? The butt my bum.
Yeah.
The accidental messaging that a straight dude would rather kill himself than have
kids. I mean that's the implication I got from that. Also, well, like my brother, like, based on what he saw in the Logan cave scene, he saw that, like, he's like, okay, women can sense men channeling. Women know how strong men are. Women and men powers can influence. So then when Valda catches Perrin and Egwene, and he's telling them, okay, you channel or you channel. My brother was convinced, because on the logic of the show, that Valda must be able to channel too, because he wouldn't be able to tell if they were channeling unless he was a channeler too. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that's so wrong, obviously, because the Whitecloaks. But then again, it's like when he explained it to me why he thought that, I was like, it makes sense in the logic of the show, because that's how badly they did it.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to get past the implications of some of the decisions that they make, for sure. I think it really does go down to the sort of idea that, like, just turn your brain off, stop thinking about it, consume the product.
Mm-hmm.
Which is such a shame given the source material that they had to work with. Like,
No, it's like,
there's so much lore and so much foreshadowing. The pieces all fit together so well, and they literally decided to just throw so much of that out and replace it with things that don't fit. And I think, to the point that Alex is making too, that, like, nothing does double duty in the show. Everything is only ever doing one thing. And that, to me, like, I don't have the background in sort of, film and stuff like that you do, but I, like, watch movies and I watch shows.
yeah, you.
And like, when people talk about how you adapt something to a visual medium, one of the things that they're often trying to get to is actually how much more you can accomplish in a visual medium in a lot of ways. And one of those things is kind of multitasking. And I read an article recently. It was about, shoot, how am I blanking on his name? Is it Charlton Heston, Casablanca?
Humphrey Bogart.
Humphrey Bogart. Thank you. Sorry. Yes, Humphrey Bogart. Anyway, yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, so Humphrey Bogart apparently, kind of for himself, invented the trope of him, like, always smoking a cigarette. And it was because it was a way to make dialogue so much more interesting, that he would be sitting there puffing, lighting something up, but it also added to the character, and he could portray anxiety or anger or things like that with the prop of his cigarette and how he used it in the scene. And like, nothing like that happens in the show. Like, everything is always so linear. There's only one thing they're ever trying to accomplish. Nothing in the periphery of the shot is ever relevant or doing anything other than just being a background. There's no anything that's happening around to hint to other things.
Yeah, Gadfly had a good comment here. He said, there's an assumption, nay, an expectation that an audience will suspend disbelief for everything. Suspension of disbelief is something that has to be earned, not an automatic starting point. I agree. And that's why I was kind of saying why I thought this show failed so much, because there really is a language of filmmaking. I mean, we all are so used to watching, like, TV. That's like when my brother watched that scene with Matt and Rand in the hotel room in Tarvalon. He thought that the assumption was that Matt and Rand were going to have to sleep together to earn money, because we're all used to seeing cause, effect, image, and how film is used, and they can't edit it right. Like, another example of bad editing is, like, when Lan and that one warder that's been Corny's warder, like, he's there and they have showed him getting herbs from Nynaeve, and then when he's talking to Lan, it's like they're both drinking tea, which kind of I was thinking like Lan's gonna get poisoned too, but he doesn't. But then they also, like, show this thing where there's a missing knife, and then they show him killing himself, and I'm like, well, that's really bad editing, because you've already introduced us to the idea that he's gotten herbs from Nynaeve and he's going to kill himself, and then you also add the knife thing too, which is just like you're saying the same thing over again, and kind of like you're like, I've already seen this, and you're confusing the readers, because, like, what is going to happen and what did happen, it's just really weird. They just don't understand that. And I don't know if it's because of, I don't know who's editing, like, an editor should know that, like, whoever. I mean, there's so many different things that would say, like, what was the choice of the shots, because you have, like, a line producer going through the script and deciding what shots they're going to shoot, and then you've got like the editor and then the cinematographer and then the producer, and there's so many people involved with actually deciding what shots go into it. It's boggling to me.
Zax, hey, how's it going? Thanks for coming out. I think we're kind of winding up here.
Yeah, no, we've
We
been
had a
chatting for a while.
very wide ranging conversation. But hey, before we end this, settle a discussion for Alex and I.
Okay.
How much do you put on the shoulders of the episode directors?
Okay, yeah, I wanted to comment on this because I noted I watched the art. I think because I know you wanted me to talk about this and I didn't get the message late enough. But what got me from the what was the guy like? His last name was
Wayne Yip was the
Wayne
guy
Yip.
we talked
Okay,
about in
yeah,
the
Wayne
previous
Yip.
live
One thing
stream.
that piqued my interest about this guy is this guy has executive producer credit. Okay, so the executive producers, they're either like the money or the favor guys.
Nope.
And so usually when you get
Alex,
Nope.
strong disapprove. Let them fight.
Every writer on this show gets an EP credit for every episode. If you
okay,
go
but
back to
I'm just saying, just in general knowledge. So I don't know what this guy's like thing. I was trying to like research it more, and usually when I was working, I was like really intense into it, and I would read the trades every day. So I probably know more about the actual production. I haven't done that for quite a while now, so I don't know the story. But that was just something that kicked off in my mind because he has the EP credit for Wheel of Time and or Wheel of Prime and Rings of
Rings of
Power.
Power.
Yep.
So I'm thinking that this guy probably brought an investor in or did some kind of a favor to these people to get the job as a director because I mean like he doesn't have very good like experience and
because he has no resume and the stuff that he does have is Wheel of
just
Prime.
yeah. And the
Why would
other
anyone hand
his
you half of
resume
a?
isn't terrible. I mean, he's done a ton of like 1 or 2 episodes in a bunch of shows.
yeah, but they're
So
not
it may
very
not
good
be
episodes.
terrible. Yeah, it may not be terrible in that like
They're
it's
not
not nothing, right?
good shows, but
Compared
Yeah.
to a lot of the other people, he does have a resume. But we talked about this last time, like having the season finale of the Jodie Whittaker Doctor
Oh,
Who
that was
is
like
not.
what was that the worst rated episode for that show?
Yeah, pretty close. Is not like that's not a feather in your cap, right? Having your name at all associated with Wheel of Prime, like I don't understand how that could possibly be a feather in your cap.
Yeah, there was one thing I was thinking with that, like, is a lot of times it's really I know a lot of guys talk on the show about like, is it the actors are bad, the writing that's bad, or the directing is bad? Like, generally you could have like bad writing and like kind of iffy actors. If you have a director, I mean, the real role of a director really is to communicate with your actors. You need to get them into the right mindset so that they can sell your character on whatever you're trying to do, even if it's stupid language. A good example of that would be like that Luz Theron cut at like episode 8, like where they're talking in like gibberish language, but like there's some kind of acting that's like a really common acting like exercise kind of. And so when I watched this, I saw like there are a lot of like very like beginning actors. Like Rand is like a really bad actor, Perrin is awful. And then there's some good actors. I mean, like the kids, like Aram, like Lan isn't terrible, like and Moraine, like she's definitely done better work, but like the thing is it's like you could have like not experienced actors, and then as long as you as a director can figure out like how you need to communicate to the actors to get them into the emotional state to give a convincing performance, I mean that's what you can do. So by the fact that like this guy wasn't able to even get me to believe it, because I mean people that sold me on their characters were like Nynaeve, like Egwene, sometimes like sometimes Lan. Matt was like, I hated what they did to him, but the actor sold me on the character just because he could get in the mindset of it. It's like I think there was a failure of directing, and then that was compounded with like um inexperienced actors.
Well, I think you touched on sort of our general takeaway from it was the failure. It wasn't one point of failure. It
was everything, honestly.
cascading.
Yeah, a lot of people are just like, it's don't blame the actors, but really there was like a lack of talent with the casting too.
See, man, of the 2 that I hated the least, you picked out the 2 that I hated the least. Now,
For who?
Joshua and Rutherford.
Oh, is that like Rand? I thought
Yes.
Rand, the actor playing Rand, was just like he was very like, I almost want to say like he seemed like probably didn't get clear direction, and he seemed very like confused about what he was doing. He got better in like episode 8 because
It's
he was
probably
doing more.
it's probably because he read the script, and he read the script and like, am I supposed to be on set for this shot? It's hard to tell.
Yeah, there was a lot like a model. Yeah, I know. He's got.
Well, I mean, that's where they basically got him from. But I guess those are the two that I think I hate the least, just because they're not actively doing anything. It's almost like they were directed to try not to stand.
They're just there, like they're just like off, like they're just the stand-ins when like the cinematographers are setting up the shot.
I'm like in my like headcanon is that the two of them did the entirety of season 1 thinking that they were extras, and it was only afterwards that somebody was like, by the way, you guys are like you're gonna be famous.
I mean, like that's a really good way to seek it, because like the director wasn't giving them anything to do, because it's like, if like one really good example of like the crappy directing and crappy acting is like the first episode with Rand and Egwene up on that rock where he's like, I'm gonna become a wisdom, and it's like they have like the chemistry of like a junior high school dance when you're like holding your arms out like this because you're afraid to touch the person. Like if the situation was like you have two actors that really don't want to touch like each other, I can understand that, and your job as a director then is to figure out some kind of like body language or movement that makes them comfortable, that can convey the information that we want, instead of the like, I'm gonna stick my arm around you, like, but I'm really afraid to touch you kind of a thing. I'm just like, ugh.
Oh man, I am now.
Talk about the language of filmmaking. The decision to shoot that shot from the side so that you almost don't see Rand's body. Like traditionally, when you do the arm across scene, it's from the front, so it's almost like a more dynamic motion. Whereas the way they shot that, it almost just looks like Rand's hand is coming at you, because they did it wrong.
Like if I had to shoot that, I'd probably show them like a kind of a shot that would be like what mine is right now, so you could see him like putting his arm around her, and then I would just want it to be like a close shot. So
pan out.
Just show a wide shot, like come in. I mean, this is language of filmmaking 101. It's so
poor.
Zach saying that the two of them seem quite comfortable. I interpreted it as too comfortable. Like the two of them, I think, were like still in their bathrobe, like at home. They didn't know that they were at work yet when they were on camera.
I mean, it didn't.
It was like, no, you're supposed to be anytime now. Like we said action. You just anytime you want to start.
Like they're just kind of. That wasn't like the emotion of the scene, because she's just like, oh yeah, it's like I'm gonna leave, like we can't get married or whatever. It's just like, I hated that change of it. Like it's just so fundamentally wrong. It's so fundamentally wrong. I'm gonna start like Nynaeve braiding.
You're getting a braid tug in there.
Well, I guess we've talked about, from a writing perspective, the first scene after your prologue, you need to immediately establish your main character.
Yeah, you do. You really do. You need to establish everything that's going on. And if I had to shoot that, I would probably start with them going to like Rand and Tam. That was another good actor, was Tam. I called him Qui-Gon Tam because he's just so much like Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Well, he's the only Game of Thrones kind of veteran actor that they had, right?
I don't remember. Who was he on Game of Thrones? I don't even remember. I haven't watched a show for a long time.
He was Stannis's buddy, right? The Onion Knight.
No, he wasn't him. That was Liam Cunningham. He's an amazing actor. If you want to see an amazing performance of somebody, watch Liam Cunningham in Hunger. It's like insane. Yeah. He does this like monologue, this one-shot monologue. That's amazing.
Alex looks like he's looking up what the actor was.
Yeah, I don't know. He was Bruce Bolton. Yeah, it was.
That's right.
Bruce Bolton.
Aldan. He was good as Bruce Bolton.
He was. Like, Chris was horrid. My character's so evil.
What was the I guess the one directing thing that made me want to choke everyone on this fucking production.
Is it Zach's? Is it Zach's comment?
Yep. That's it. Parent, close your fucking mouth.
Yeah, I don't
Every time your mouth is open, I'm going to slap you.
I couldn't decide what that was. Like, I couldn't was that was like, to me it almost looked like the actor just didn't know what to do, and they gave him kind of like some vague direction, like look like you're really pensive or you're thinking about something, and the guy just didn't know what to do with it. It's like that like part in like Talladega Nights, and Ricky Bobby's like, I don't know what to do with my hand.
Damn it!
I love that movie.
That's not even bad directing from like a show perspective. That's bad directing in that a good director is going to attempt to develop their actors, not just to be better in this show, but to be better in their future for their career.
Yeah,
Karen,
and
never open your mouth like that on camera again.
Or like
Okay.
the way that the guys
Remember,
it just doesn't make the actor like look good. Like stand up straight, like you're not giving yourself
slouching.
the whole like there was a lot of stuff in the show too, between the lighting and I think probably the directing and the framing of shots that just didn't do anything to make anyone look good.
I mean, we have talked about that before.
Yeah,
like almost actively attempted to make him look worse.
If I'm Magdalene Madden, Egwene's actress, and I saw this and know this is going to be my biggest production, and this is going to be like what a director is going to watch for my next role, I'm fighting the lighting coordinator and the makeup artists. Like, you're actively damaging my career here.
Or like, why are they going on about like the wigs when the wigs looked terrible? Moraine's wig was awful, and like they didn't even have that crazy wig stuff in there. I don't.
Oh, you haven't seen where the wig budget went. Aldan's rewatch with us. That's where the wig budget went. You're
loyal.
you're about to see the wig budget. I guess you saw it maybe a little bit with Prophet of the Dragon, the Super Saiyan Nynaeve. That was some wig budget too.
Yeah, that was just like what in that like weird Shanchen like. Okay, I just have to say like I want somebody to do like a Sean Connery voice and say Sean. I don't have the voice for it, but I always think about him saying that like Sean.
I think we might be peak peak randomness at this point.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Chat. The few people we have in the chat. Does anyone want to try and fight over the last question for our wonderful guest? Like 10 seconds. Make it good. Let's see. Anything from the chat? I don't know. Alex, you got any last thoughts?
So I guess if nobody in the chat is going to take it, I'll take the last question. In 3 sentences, what are your thoughts on Rings of Power?
Deep sigh.
It's a great J.R.R. Tolkien quote. Evil cannot create, it can only destroy. And I think the Rings of Power is just a perfect example of that. It's a perfect example of like peak modernity where like you get like modernistic stuff, you get like the deconstruction, and you get like the kind of critical theory which comes out of Marxism. I don't want to get on that topic, but like where it's like it's a deconstruction of everything.
Another half hour. I'd
like and like
Alex is like, Pips, you can go to bed. We're gonna talk Marxism.
They can't create anything better in its place. And I think that's a perfect example of it. It's like they can't even create any, like they can't tell another story in the universe that respects the kind of universal themes and the like things that Tolkien was trying to do in his work. And it's gross. It's just nasty. And it's like, it's like I keep telling, and I feel bad because I had friends that I had a friend that went to Yale that was in my screenwriting thing, and I was really good friends with her. And it's like she had the same mindset of that where she's like, I need to put like a gay character in this thing, and I'm just like, okay, but like gay isn't like your personality. It's not like a character is gay and like what happens or something like that. And I just see that's what they do with these shows is they forget that these are people, which is why I don't think that like remaking like existing properties really works, and it doesn't do the stories justice really, because like is making Captain America black, like is that, what does that do? Or like what if you created a character that was like Captain America but he's black, but it'll have different like experiences and stuff that'll do justice to the character. It's just so much better than just destroying something, is
Yeah.
to create like maybe subvert the like expectation and then create something in its place that's better.
All right. Speed round here. So
Okay.
Sven is saying you can only pick one. What scene do you Balefire out of the show?
There's only one answer here.
You know,
I kind of want to know if Alex's one answer is the same as my one answer.
you know what it's gonna be, and you guys are probably gonna think I'm stupid for saying this, but it's gonna be when like Egwene like does rant in the Wine Spring Inn, because that's wrong. It just sets up like it's such a fundamental misunderstanding of their character. It creates a relationship that they don't have in the books, and it just like it sets up the arcs for them to have this stupid like. I mean, the end of the show, like where he's like, I don't want to take this happy ending because that's not what Egwene wants. I mean, is this the man that's going to like seal the bore and save the world? I don't think so.
If Dane was here, he'd have a joke for that. But yeah, how are the two of them gonna face off in the Hall of the Tower, knowing like we could just a quickie in the hall, like
yeah, right. Egwene knows Rand cries after sex. Like, how is she supposed to respect him?
I always say that Dane says post nut clarity in episode 7. I say post pegging. I say Egwene, when your girl pegged you so hard, you realize the fate of the world. So yeah, their relationship forever altered. All right, Alex? What was your?
If we're using Balefire, given what Balefire does in universe, would the smartest thing to do would be to
don't ask that
massive Balefire, and Balefire like the first scene of the show, so it never existed and could never exist because it would take it back so much in time.
See, I was gonna say don't say that. I was gonna ask Alex what his scene was, because your answer, that was my answer. That's why I was like, I want to see if Alex's there's only one answer is correct. Mine was the opening shot. Balefire it as hard as you can.
Yeah, just hit it all. Like, let's all go. Let's form a chain. There's a girl, two guys. Like, you can go. Perfect. Like, I'm a chick. You guys are dudes. Let's get Calendar. Let's like eat the shit. Like, it's over.
Seal the bore. Seal season 1 away where it can never escape.
We'll seal it away.
All right, Alex. What was your answer?
My answer is the love triangle scene. The issue that I have with using
classic.
It
you can't question that one. That's
the issue I have with using it on them banging in the Wine Spring Inn is that it doesn't stop the simping and it doesn't stop Perrin. Whereas if you remove the line, I'm sick of you fighting over her, apologize to her, and you proposed on the day I started dating Egwene.
I forgot about that. Like, what?
I can ignore most of the character assassination of Perrin if you remove that.
I know. And it's like, it's so funny because like for the Tumblr crowd, like that whole fridging the woman trope is like the worst thing you could probably do, and that's what they start the show with.
They've fridged multiple characters. So they've fridged, by my count, they've fridged at least 3 women. Right? So you see Layla,
the little
girl. What Rafe said about that was just so like,
yeah, it was creepy. It was weird. And then you see Karini was also fridged Karini was fridged just to set up Steppen being fridged. Like it was fridgeception. You had one fridging to set up another fridging. It was just.
And then try to make Logain look bad too, right? Because he's like, "Oh, you killed all these people," but like my brother said, he's just defending himself.
Logan was pretty good, honestly.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the highlight of the show for me is all the Logan action, and he comes in and he gives this speech to like Shalon, and he's just like,
if
"I'm
they had
for
stopped
freedom" and stuff
if
like.
they had stopped the speech at the first half, that would
Yep.
have been so damn good. But they couldn't. They couldn't have that. They were like, "Shit, that's pretty badass." What he just said there. Rewrite, quick
Making
rewrite, just a quick rewrite. Personal point of privilege. We need to change this.
Right. I think the Logain in it Logain is a result. People liking Logain is a result of terrible productions trying to make you
Spend
dislike a
truth
character.
bomb.
The in Falcon and Winter Soldier, John Walker is the exact same way. Like they try so hard to make you like that dude, and I came out of that show thinking like, this guy should definitely be the next Captain America. Like
I know it's like
no,
it's. I mean, why would you want Rand? I mean, Rand has done nothing. Like,
Yeah.
okay, Aldan, one of my favorite books. Okay, it's hard for me to name a favorite, but one of my like ultimate favorite books is Fight Club. I love Chuck Palahniuk. He's a great writer.
Nice. And a book that got a. I
I
guess
don't mind the adaptation of the book. The only thing I don't like is that the ending isn't the same as the book, and the book's ending is literally that it says, "I knew that if I shot myself, I wasn't gonna survive like in some stupid movie," and that's what happened.
I will say that the adaptation, okay, it's an adaptation, but did we lose Alex altogether? He had hotel Wi-Fi issues.
Yeah.
So hey, I think that's as good of an end as anything else. Yeah, everyone in the chat, we got a few of you guys still kicking around. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor to be here. Like I've really enjoyed all the content you guys do.
Alex is back in. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. My favorite book?
Yeah.
Certainly one of my favorites, probably Starship Troopers.
I didn't know that was a book.
Oh yeah, Robert Heinlein. That is a book that was murdered in its adaptation.
Yeah,
but also managed to be a good movie. I love the movie Starship Troopers.
So campy, it's so funny.
It is like if we had gotten Wheel of Time, that just was like Starship Troopers, that was just absurd. Like I almost would have been maybe okay with it, but yeah, Starship Troopers the book is fantastic, and kind of like well, I mean, like all good books, it actually I think teaches some good values. But anyway, Alex, what's your favorite before we lose your connection again?
My favorite all-time book. I'm now forgetting which one in the series it is, but it's the Dresden Files book where he rides.
Oh man, I love the Dresden Files.
Where he rides Sue, the dinosaur at the Chicago Museum into battle.
What? Yeah, okay, I have to read this. Like my mom has read that. Everyone was telling me, "Oh, if you want to do fantasy western, do that." But I knew from her reading it that it wasn't what I was going after. But if there's a dinosaur getting ridden, I'm like, I need to read that.
Polka will never die.
Polka will never die. Yep.
Oh man, the Dresden Files are fantastic. Seriously, Balefire. If you have never read the Dresden Files, you got to. I think Alvin's right.
Changes. It just my insane schedule of reading English books for my college education. There's things I have just not read. Like I've never read Lord of the Rings, and I feel really embarrassed saying that. So
you gotta watch Lord of the Rings before Rings of Power comes, or you gotta read Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I've watched the movies a million times
before Rings of Power comes out, because based on everyone in the chat, we need to have you on for our Rings of Power stuff.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well I have I got this book in college. It's this thick, and it's Bible pages, and it's all of the books and some appendices. So I saw it when I was in college, and I'm like, oh my god, I want to read this because that's when the first movie started coming out. So I'll read it for you guys.
All right. Actually, I did remember one more question that I had for you. So you're writing a fantasy western, right?
Yes, I am.
Does your book end with? Actually, I gotta ask this question first: male or female main character?
Male.
Does the book end with him riding away from a woman on a horse?
I don't know how it's gonna end yet. He has
Okay.
like a kind of like romantic interest, but like they're different cultural things, and it would like being that like she would give up like everything to be with this guy, and I don't think she'll do that. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna work out yet. You know, it's like I've gotten these characters I've written before where it's like I start writing it out and I'm like, well, this scene didn't turn out how I thought it was gonna be. So honestly, I can't say. It's not cheesy though. It's like there's like three main characters that follows like a brother and sister that are twins and then an older brother. And they all kind of experience different aspects of this culture, and it's sort of based on like this guy going out on a dragon run so that there's dragons that live up in the mountains and everyone wants to try to catch one and tame it because they're kind of like the artillery of the world. Like a lot of times the fantasy westerns I found are like they're more western with like magic in it, but this one I wanted to be more epic fantasy because I thought the epic fantasy theme stuff was more, it meshed better with like the western thematically versus than just like superficial things like guns and railroads and stuff.
No, that answers my question because I was going to say no true western doesn't end with a guy riding away from a girl on a horse.
Yeah, I know, because it's like we got everything. We got cryptids, we have like jackalopes, chupacabras, redheaded giants, because it's a fantasy novel and everyone has to have like a redhead in there. So there's like, it's funny, I don't have a name for it yet. So it's kind of like a Grand Canyon area where these people live, and I just call it Randland. It's kind of a joke now.
First comment: if you're naming horses, just make sure the best one's named Pips. And then, have you read the Her Majesty's Dragon, the Temeraire series?
No.
It's an alternate history where they use dragons in warfare, and they like basically they have these dragon riders, but instead of like the stereotypical one where it's like there's one dude on a dragon, they put these big harnesses and they have like teams of like people with pistols and stuff, like, and they like board between dragons and try and capture them, and you can take ships and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Napoleonic period, I think, is the thing.
You're not to send me a DM because I want to read that now.
It's not the greatest fantasy series that's ever been written, but it is a first in the way that they use dragons. And you saying the artillery stuff made me think of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that is all the time that we probably have. Thank you guys in the chat so much for coming out, Balefire. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on. We are super excited to have you on for a rewatch coming out in a couple weeks. Awesome. So everybody who loved our guest, come check her out when she comes out for the rewatch. And other than that, everybody walk in the light, and we will see you next time.